Every shooter who is passionate about their hobby, profession, or practice, and just as passionate about their rights, keeps up with the ceaseless attempts of freedom-hating gun grabbers. Gun bans, in one form or another, have been going on for over 100 years. And despite ground gained in recent years on the legal front, we can't let our guard down. Insiders on Capitol Hill and watchdogs keeping an eye on gun-grabbing groups like Brady, Giffords, and Everytown know that the new front in this war isn't going to revolve around the guns themselves, but around the ammunition they fire. After all, a gun isn't much good without ammo. To help keep you up to date on such matters, I'm bringing you a list of 5 ammo types that could, if freedom haters get their way, be banned this year. No time to waste. Let's get down to business. I can already hear some of you out there in the audience laughing, but you shouldn't be. The notion that various military-issued cartridges like the 9mm, 5.56 by 45mm, 7.62 NATO, and others might be unilaterally banned or otherwise restricted here in the U.S. is unthinkable to some. But that kind of complacency could set the stage for disaster when it comes to our Second Amendment rights. Indulge me. And consider this. Around the world, these military-issued cartridges and others are already restricted, banned, or subject to considerable scrutiny. Opponents say that military-grade ammunition is inherently unsuitable for any sporting or civic use, and its possession by unauthorized personnel is a clear and present danger to public safety. Just past our own southern border, for instance, Mexico bans the civilian possession of various military cartridges under Article 10 of their firearms law. There is no sign of loosening this prohibition due to decades-long and ongoing cartel violence. Here in the U.S., rising fears about mass shootings, misguided or not, and the increasing fracturing of the civilian population along ideological lines have birthed new concerns about the militarization of the existing civilian arsenal. Rabble-rousers and lobbyists who argue for banning these rounds claim that it will increase public safety, reduce tensions, and give both law enforcement and the military a needed edge against radicals and separatists. One should consider also that these military cartridges are inseparable from the so-called assault weapons that get constant airtime with enemies of the Second Amendment. Yes, the federal AWB, assault weapons ban, went into effect all the way back in 1994 and, mercifully, sunset into non-existence in 2004. And it was centered on certain firearms, their features, and standard capacity magazines holding more than 10 rounds. Specific cartridges weren't a feature of that ban. But peer below the surface, and you'll see that the AWB was concerned with the lethality of firearms that civilians were allowed to possess. That is what the people who push such bans will always agitate for. Accordingly, you should not be surprised, not in the least little bit, when you see so-called military-issued cartridges tumble from the lips of anti-gun agitators. To some people, shotguns are about as plain and wholesome as a firearm can get. Back in the day, it was almost unheard of that a family didn't have at least one shotgun. For hunting, pest control, and keeping the castle secure, nothing is better. Shotguns are true all-purpose firearms, and their versatility is unmatched. Shotguns enjoy this versatility specifically because of their widely varying ammunition types: birdshot, buckshot, and slugs. But did you know there are many, many more types of shotgun ammo than those three? There sure are. Shotgun shells are a bit like those post office flat rate boxes. If it fits, it ships. Or in this case, shoots. Some exotic shotgun rounds out there include bolos, which consist of two large balls linked by a metal wire, flechettes, which are bundles of tiny metal darts, incendiary dragon's breath rounds for starting fires, flares, and a whole lot more. Now, whether these rounds have a practical purpose or not is an entirely different video. I'm not going to get into it here, except to say that, practically speaking, you are better off sticking with the standard 3 I listed above. But if you want to experiment, have special requirements, or just want to have fun, the above rounds may prove worthwhile. Regrettably, the exotic nature and often spectacular effects that these rounds exhibit have already seen them banned in several states, among them Illinois and California, but also, surprisingly, Florida. It is likely that other states will follow suit in time, as for whatever reason, even defenders of the Second Amendment don't seem to concern themselves with these novelty rounds that are the darlings of gun show shoppers everywhere. Say what you want about the suitability of these specialty shell types for any purpose, it's a case of where we go one, we go all. When we don't fight the banning, or fight to get restricted rounds back, it's like showing red to a bull. This energizes and emboldens gun-grabbing groups, and allows them to get a beachhead from which they can launch further assaults on our rights. I'll bet that we will see more bans on Dragon's Breath rounds particularly, but also the other special types, as the year goes on. I've got 3 more ammo types to tell you about, each of them plausible targets of legislative action going forward into the year. But before we move on, do me a big favor and hit like and subscribe if you don't want to see any ammo get banned. Only a freedom-hating gun grabber would withhold those 2 simple clicks. Plus, by subscribing, you'll get notified whenever we upload some fresh new content for you. Thanks so much! Now let's get back at it. The Big 50 is a venerable round, one that has been with us since the early 20th century. Seen as a king-of-the-hill cartridge by us shooters, precious few other rounds that are commercially available, even on a restricted basis, come close to matching the sheer range and destructive power of the 50 BMG. Obviously, this has made it the constant target of gun-banning legislative efforts at both the state and federal levels. These efforts are already well underway. California banned them outright all the way back in 2004. And, to be clear, they banned any rifle that could fire the cartridge, not just the ammunition. California is going to California, of course. But the legislature held up nonsensical and speculative risks to power stations and other public infrastructure, along with inherent risks to law enforcement, as the reasons for the ban. 2 other locales that never met a gun ban they didn't like, the state of Illinois and Washington, D.C., imposed their own similar bans shortly thereafter. Resuscitated federal efforts to ban so-called assault weapons, codified in the 2023 S-25 assault weapons ban, include several named 50 caliber rifles, but would have, in practice, been a categorical ban on those firearms and their ammunition. No other specific cartridge is as targeted by gun ban groups as the 50. Giffords, Everytown, and Brady have all targeted it specifically, or at least included it by name and singled it out as a particular threat to public safety. Viewers would also be wise to note that these groups inform so much of their activity by gun banning successes seen elsewhere in the world, and most particularly Europe, countries that they would love to emulate and, disastrously, turn America into. Spain and France are 2 nations that outright banned the 50 caliber BMG, both ammo and rifles, from civilian possession entirely. The 50 is also heavily restricted or banned outright in a smattering of Central and South American nations. To me, a 50 BMG ban is highly worrying, and very likely, comparatively, because there are already state precedents here in the US and many others in various countries around the world. An always controversial ammo category, subcaliber, so-called PDW rounds like the 5.7 by 28mm, 4.6 by 30mm, and the ill-fated 224 BAs have been and remain subject to intensive efforts by anti-gun lobbyists. And it's not hard to see why. These cartridges have been designed from the ground up for use in highly compact, portable firearms that are intended to defeat body armor. It's easy to see where this was going. These rounds, and those like them, more than any others, are slandered as cop killers and other pejoratives besides. Shooters who have been in the game for a little while will already be familiar with the woes of the 5.7 by 28mm. The real armor-piercing variation of that cartridge was long ago restricted from civilians, and a U.S. 1986 ban on armor-piercing handgun ammunition is already a strong legal precedent that could be turned against the 5.7, the 4.6, and others like it, with very little effort by a corrupt government, or even an honest one if enough money gets splashed around. You might care about these cartridges, or you might not, but regardless, you should keep an eye on them and fight for them. The FN PS90, 5.7 pistol, and a bunch of other guns these days chamber the 5.7, and allegedly, there is a chance that we will see an actual HK-built MP7 equivalent in semi-auto form coming out here in the next couple of years. As ever, allowing the restriction of these rounds is a beachhead that gun banners will use to ban other, seemingly lesser rounds. We can't give these people an inch. There are already hundreds and hundreds of gun laws on the books that affect the entire nation and various states. Don't give them even one more. Perhaps the most insidious, and certainly the category with the broadest possible repercussions, would be a ban on any ammunition type containing lead. How could this be possible? Lead is absolutely necessary to making ammunition, right? Strictly speaking, it isn't necessary, but it is the standard for a very good reason. It offers the best possible combination of attributes for the least cost. Making bullets or shot from copper, brass, steel, or other metals is possible, but much of the time suboptimal and always drastically more expensive. Here's why this ammo ban could be so devastating. Aside from throttling civilian consumption immensely from both a supply and an expense standpoint, in some states it would also be a de facto ban on ammunition outright. And you better believe the gun banners will do it if they can get away with it. We've already seen the U.S. phase out the use of lead shot for hunting ducks and geese for health and wildlife concerns all the way back in 1991. And the FWC has foisted proposals for banning lead ammo for hunting outright as recently as 2023. California, once again, has entirely banned the use of lead for hunting ammunition, citing human health concerns and its alleged impact on the environment. Lead is extremely toxic if ingested, and even though concerns about the environment and human health arising from the use of lead ammo for hunting or target shooting are entirely overblown, at least concerning the general public, this notion has gained traction in the public consciousness. Worse yet, the move to monolithic metal bullets made from materials other than lead might easily run afoul of existing state bans on armor-piercing ammunition, or specific laws that concern the banning of ammunition made entirely from steel, iron, brass, beryllium copper, or other metals, Maryland being the most prominent example. That said, states far and wide have their own laws prohibiting ammunition that is inherently armor-piercing, owing to construction. Indiana, Kentucky, Hawaii, Florida, and lots of others among them. This, mark my words, will be the Trojan horse gun grab attempt of our era. Banning lead for the safety of humans, animals, and the environment is something that is a lot easier to sell to an ignorant general public than a straight-up prohibition on a certain cartridge or certain types of guns. After all, no one's trying to keep you from having your guns or your ammo anymore, right? Right! You just have to work with us for the sake of the environment. And then when there's no more ammo in your state because of the existing laws, or the cost of ammo quadruples or goes up by a factor of 10, these greaseball gun banners will be laughing all the way to the bank. Don't be fooled and don't get complacent. Fight any kind of lead ban, for hunting or any other purpose, tooth and nail if you want to keep your guns. Okay folks, those are the pieces on the board, the way I see it for the current year. These ammo ban proposals and initiatives are downright sneaky, so make sure you stay sharp and stay up to date on state and federal legislative activity if you want to stop it. And rest assured that if these approaches don't work, they will think up something else. You've got to stay vigilant if you want to stay free. Let me know down in the comments what you think about the possibility of a lead ammo ban. Do you think the notion could gain steam at the state or federal level? Or is this an overblown concern of mine? Let's talk about it respectfully, but I really do want to hear what you think. And before you go, Make sure to hit like and subscribe so you stay up to date on all the great content we've got coming out here right on All About Survival. Thanks so much for watching. Stay vigilant, and I will catch you in the next one. Take care.